the current pace of reform and adjustment is far from sufficient to make Greece's public finances sustainable or to close the competitiveness gap. Further efforts are therefore necessary. For the second program, we are mobilizing all the assistance we can to support the Greek administration in strengthening its administrative capacity. But the other Achilles heel, the lack of political unity, while improved recently, can only be healed by the Greek citizens, by the Greek society.
Other things that must be the emphasis of structural reform in the public sector is reducing the size of government. Government is too big. There are too many people employed in the public sector. And this must involve addressing what has so far been some taboos in closing entities that have outlived their usefulness and accepting that public sector employment is not necessarily for life. Some of the key structural reforms needed to make further progress in deficit reduction are already well advanced, for instance in the health sector. Others are still at a relatively early stage. So to answer some of the questions that some of you have raised, this is indeed an area where some of the difficult reforms still lie ahead and where we should expect considerable resistance from vested interest going forward. So success is obviously not guaranteed. But the point is, I cannot see, given the track record of Greece of dealing with its fiscal problem during the last 2 years, how one can look at that track record and conclude that the authorities are not determined and will not succeed.
Closing the large fiscal gap for 2013 and 14 of about 5.5% of GDP will be the litmus test for the government's commitment to the program. I would call on the Greek political class to push through these difficult reforms by confronting vested interests. Otherwise, the required critical mass of structural reforms necessary to close the medium-term fiscal gap may not be reached.